you're going to have an opportunity to elevate your consciousness, to elevate your frequency, your tone, if you will, into a higher state when you face the challenges that were being presented, that the astrology and the human design transits are actually anticipating right now. This is a really rich and potentially volatile time that we're in. And so I want to dig into the details of this so that you know exactly what kind of choices that you have. You have clarity so that you can know how you can move forward in your life with an alignment with your values so that you're really doing what it is that you care about, that matters to you, that everything that you do in your life is moving in the direction of creating the world that you want to live in. So I hope that you will stay on till the end. I'm going to go through the human design transit of the sun and the earth. I'm going to talk about some specifics about that. But then I'm also going to talk about Jupiter and gate 45, which I have talked about in the major themes for this month as well, which you can go and watch here if you want to, but we're going to revisit that a little bit. And then we're going to talk about the super full moon that's happening on October 17th, because, oh boy, it's a doozy. There's a lot to unpack in that. And we're going to bring some astrology in along with human design so we can get a clearer picture of it. And I want you to be able to leave this video today feeling super clear about what your choices are and what the opportunity is for you, what the assignment is coming to you from these outer planets, so that you can really make the best of it for you in your life. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. So in the transit that begins today, the sun is moved into the gate 32 and the earth has moved into gate 42. And we also have a full channel that is being lit up, which we will talk about as well. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the sun in the gate 32. So the gate 32 is known as continuity in traditional human design, or endurance in quantum human design. And the 32 is on the spleen center. And one of the things I talked about in the major themes video for this month is that all of the different gates of the spleen are being lit up, which is unusual. The entire center is being lit up and the 32 is on it. And so, of course, it has a fear because all of the spleen gates have a fear. So the fear of the 32 is the fear of failure. And it also has a fear that because it's kind of the energy for being able to hold on to a big idea, a business idea. It's in the commerce circuit of the tribal circuit. So it is in that kind of community commerce area. And so it's like this idea of having a big idea and you need to have that endurance, right? You need to stay with it in order for it to be able to manifest into form. But sometimes associated with that can either be the fear that somebody's going to find out about it and take it from you while you're waiting for the right time, or conditions are coming together, or your preparations are forming, right? Or you're just going to fail doing it. Right? So you can have that too. So watch out for that for yourself while the sun is lighting this up, because what you really want to lean into is the sense that you are going to know what right timing is. You want to use your human design authority to help you to know what that is. But just to really tune in to right timing, because the spleen is the center for right timing. So it's about digging into really your inner guidance that you have to trust that you're going to know when the right time is. And also to dig into this awareness that you have what you need when you need it. And so failure is really an attitude more than anything else, right? Because of course we make mistakes, we try things, they don't work out, it happens all the time, right? But failure is heavy, right? The word failure, when we think of that, oh my God, I'm a failure, right? That's heavy. So we don't want to go with failure. We just want to go, oh, that didn't work out so well. How do we tweak it? How do we do this? Maybe we go in another direction. So whatever it is, however that shows up for you, try not to get tight around it, right? To like being afraid of however that shows up for you. But just breathe, open your heart, ground yourself, do your best to just be like, I can hold on to something important for myself long enough for it to gestate, if you will, right? Long enough for it to come to fruition. And you do have the capacity to do that. You just might have to talk yourself into it. And the sun in the 32 is resting on the earth in the 42. So the 42 is in the sacral center. So it is primary life force energy, and it's responsive. Everything having to do with the sacral is responsive. And it's a gate for being able to bring things to conclusion, for finishing things. And so sometimes it means you can enter into a situation that maybe you haven't been involved in, and you can see, oh, okay, I can put this together to help it, complete, right? Sometimes it's just you're going to tap into something that you either have put on the back burner, or maybe you've procrastinated around, or you forgot about, or it just wasn't a priority. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to bring it forward and I'm going to finish this. I'm just going to be done with it, right? So it could be either way with that. It's a really good time for you to be just kind of looking around in your life and being like, what is it that's maybe close to being done, but I've left? I mean, I know I have like 3 different projects that are like that, because the 42 is really good for that. And the 42 is a big gate for us this month because it's also the full moon. So we'll come back to that in a second. But what you can do is just really ground yourself in this sense that, yeah, I am capable of finishing things. I know a lot of times people, we get stuck in procrastination. We get stuck on avoiding things. We just resist things, right? And you're going to have a lot of energetic support to just move through that. Right? Don't try to do too much at once. Pick 1 or 2 things to just feel like, you know what? I can do it. I can get this done. And your energy is going to be supercharged for that during this transit. Another theme that we have going this month is having channels being defined. And whenever there are channels that are defined, we're going to have centers that are defined. So during this transit, we have the Ajna that's defined, that's connected to the throat through the 1762. So the 17 is on the Ajna and the 62 is on the throat. And this is in the logic circuit. And so it comes in through left brain energy, crosses over in the Ajna, and then comes down through the right hand side of the body and up through the central channel. So this is where that channel is. And so for all of us, like I don't have a defined ajna or a defined throat, but during this particular transit, I will. So if you have an open throat or if you have an open ajna, just pay attention for yourself. Do you feel differently during this time? Because both of those are going to be defined. Watch out for the desire for certainty or the belief that you are certain with the ajna center, because it can be a little bit not so great. But it can be really good for your thought process. It tends to be kind of analytical, the analytical mind. And also this is in the logic circuit. And so it's really about our ability to prepare. The 62 is about preparation. And the 17 is known as opinions. And then, so it's opinions, but it's also anticipation. It's like bringing together the different materials we need, the different perspectives, the different things that we need for an experiment, right? Because this is kind of the beginning of the scientific method in Western culture. And so we're putting together a hypothesis. We've got an idea. We're curious about it, and we're like, okay, let's see, how do we dig into it? So opinions are when you get, I mean, everybody has opinions. I have opinions. You have opinions. We all have opinions. The question is how forceful are we with our opinions? How much do we try to push them onto other people? Nobody likes to have other people's opinions pushed onto them, but I'm curious about other people's opinions. I like to hear other people's opinions. And so we like that, right? And it's just, these are the ideas. These are possibilities. And so, be open to that while this is happening. But notice that it's connected to preparation here, because this is the North Node that's been in the 17. It's been there for a long time. But with this complete channel happening, we're going to now have some more ability to articulate with it. Right. And, but be careful here, because that 62 is known as details or preparation. And it can get really stuck in feeling like it doesn't know enough. It's not prepared enough. It can get a little like tense that way. So you want to open that up too and just be like, yeah, I get to prepare. I get to like participate in this. Really see this as a time to be bringing, like I said, bringing things together that you're going to want to investigate and see where that might take you. And then really pay attention to that ajna and open throat, especially for my open throated brothers and sisters, because I know for me, affects me a lot when I feel like my throat gets defined, especially by a transit. So pay attention to that. And I would love to hear from you down in the comments if you want to share about it later as well. Let's move now into really kind of some bigger issues. Okay. So I want to revisit Jupiter in the gate 45. So Jupiter is known as our blessings, right? And Jupiter is generally thought of as a benevolent energy, but really at its core, Jupiter is the god of expansion. Right. And we like when Jupiter expands things that we want to expand, like our prosperity, our resources, our love, our opportunities, right? We like that. But we don't really like it so much when Jupiter expands our bad habits, like that we, eat too much sugar, things like that. We don't really want that to be getting expanded. So it's not that Jupiter is always a blessing, depending on how we are embodying and expressing whatever it is that Jupiter is shining a light on. So in this case, Jupiter is shining light on the gate 45, which is over here. It's on the throat center, and it is tribal leadership. So it's known as the sovereign gate or the king or the queen gate in traditional human design, and it's known as distribution in quantum human design. The reason I'm bringing this up is that the shadow of the 45 is dictatorship or authoritarianism. And we're seeing a lot of emergence and the assertion of authoritarianism and dictatorship happening on the planet right now. I know it's happening here a lot in the United States. So we're grappling with it in our own context, but it is certainly happening in many, many parts of the planet. So Jupiter is basically saying to us, are we going to go into the shadow, right, of dictatorship and authoritarianism? Or are we going to move into benevolent tribal leadership, which really evolving out of what we think of as royalty, right? Because that's the old order, and we're evolving out of the old order. But benevolent tribal leadership is really here. The reason it's been renamed distribution in quantum human design is that we want to equitably distribute our resources so that everyone has what they need. It doesn't mean that everybody necessarily has the same thing, because not everybody has the same needs. Some families need a lot more. If they have kids who have health issues, they need more than a single person who doesn't have any kids and they don't have health issues. You know what I mean? So it's equitability doesn't mean sameness, doesn't mean everybody gets the same. It means that people get what they need, right? And this is a hard concept for some people, right? Because it's like, well, why should you get that if I don't get that? And then we get into this like struggle. So the assignment here, right? The invitation is, what are we going to do with our resources? How are we going to distribute them? How are we going to step into leadership? Are we going to go into top-down authoritarian, manipulate, control, that kind of thing, right? Which is, in my view, something we're evolving out of, right? We're evolving out of it. So notice if it shows up in your behavior at all, and see if you can kind of wind that back in and be like, okay, how can I be more compassionate? How can I be more benevolent? Benevolent meaning looking out for the highest good of all. But this is going to be affecting everybody, right? And this is happening for quite some time. So let's just take a look at these dates. So Jupiter moved into the 45 on August 17th. It's going to be there all the way through December 2nd, which is a long time for Jupiter to be in a particular gate. And that's because right now, Jupiter has just turned retrograde. So moving right up to October 9th, he was slowing down and stationing. And what happens when a planet does that is that its energy gets more intense because it's kind of slowing down and it's just kind of hanging out there and it's beaming. So that means that this theme that we're talking about right now is super enhanced, particularly now for the next, couple of weeks, right? And then Jupiter is going to be, moving more and more retrograde, and we'll pick up a little bit of speed doing that. But Jupiter in the gate 45. So Jupiter is our blessings, right? We like to think of Jupiter as our blessings, and in many ways that he is. That's what we think of Jupiter in our human design system. But Jupiter also is expansive. And so Jupiter will expand whatever it is that he's focusing on and how we're experiencing what Jupiter is shining a light on. So Jupiter is shining a light on this gate 45, which is tribal leadership. Now, tribal leadership can be really awesome. It can be benevolent. It can be kind. It can be generous. It's been renamed distribution in quantum human design. Its traditional human design name is the sovereign, which has to do with royalty in the past, but then became really this kind of leader of the tribe, right? If you want to think of it that way. And the thing is that the shadow of the 45 is authoritarianism and dictatorship. And we are seeing a lot of that happening on the planet right now. But here in the United States, we're having a very interesting time happening with authoritarianism and democracy. And so that's happening here, but it's happening all over the planet. And so one of the choices that you're really being presented here is, are you going to be in the shadow of the 45? Are you going to stay with the power over strategies that maybe you've used in the past? The thing is that we were all trained to do that. It's not like it's your fault or you're a bad person if you have tried to use those power over strategies, a lot of times through manipulation or coercion, but a lot of times it's subconscious. We don't even know we're doing it. Unfortunately, women have been super trained into this over many, many generations. Because under patriarchy, we didn't have direct access to power, generally speaking, right? And so we did it through manipulating the men around us. And that was the way that we were able to have any modicum of power in our lives. And that legacy stays with us. We are evolving out of it, I'm happy to say. And I think that we're seeing the ways that that has ruined our relationships. And so I think a lot of women are really, saying, no, we're not going to live that way anymore. But some of that programming runs deep inside of us. So we really need to look at that and unpack it. So this is your choice right now is, are you going to be expressing an attitude that is about benevolence being kindness, compassion, generosity, looking at how can everybody have what they need? Because again, this is tribal leadership. And tribal leadership in its most awakened state is always going to be looking out for the highest good of all, which is why it's about distribution now in quantum human design in the way that it's evolving. Because when we move into unity consciousness and we recognize that we're all connected, we realize that we want to make sure that everybody has what they need. Doesn't necessarily mean everybody has the same thing, because not everybody needs the same thing, but everybody has what they need. And so my invitation to you is to step into this ability in yourself, to be more generous, to be more kind. There's a kind of regal quality to it. Also, people I've done readings for who have the 45, they can have this really beautiful regal sense of it, this radiance, right? So it's that as well. And when you're in that awakened state with the 45, there is this kind of glowing quality. So I encourage you to look for that now, because unfortunately, like I said, we're seeing the shadow state of the 45 being lit up, around the planet by different leaders in the world. And I'm not a supporter of authoritarianism. A unity consciousness does not align with authoritarianism. So I just encourage you to be really mindful about the choices that you're making right now. I wanted to emphasize that because of how it is going to be influencing what's happening with the full moon. So let's take a look at the full moon. So the full moon is happening on October 17th, and it is in the gate 42. And you'll see here within this image that the moon and the earth are in the gate 42, because the moon and the earth are always together when it's a full moon. And this is a supermoon. This is the third supermoon that we've had in 2024, and it is the brightest one that we've had, the one closest to the Earth. So it's even more powerful. Because if you think about the moon, right, is our other planetary body, right, which has its own gravitational force. And the moon really impacts us with its gravitational force. And of course, it influences, the tides and so on. But we also are influenced by it inside of us, because we're largely water. So we're also being influenced by that. And so when the moon is closer to the earth, we feel it even more strongly. So the 42, I talked about it a little while ago when I was talking about the earth and the gate 42. So it's really about finishing things, being able to bring things to conclusion. And so we've got the Earth there, we've got the Moon there, and we also have Chiron there as well. So the Chiron is the wounded healer, right? And Chiron is always kind of asking us, are you going to do what you need to do to heal? Are you going to do the thing that you need to do in order to fully show up in your life? Yes, maybe you've had challenges. Yes, maybe you've been wounded in your life. I think all of us have been. And are you going to do what you need to do to transmute that woundedness into gold, right? Into wisdom, into something that you have a golden nugget that comes from that challenge. And that's what Chiron is always asking us as well. So Chiron is here around, can you finish something up so that you can transmute it into wisdom? Can you do that? Can you find something? Maybe there's a place in you where, for example, maybe you know that you want to forgive somebody, but you haven't forgiven them yet. That's something that you could complete during this time. Okay. So there are things that we can complete that have to do with our own inner landscape as well as the outer world. So check that out for yourself, because Chiron has a lot to do with the inner world, right? And see if there are things that you can kind of, you don't want to do a spiritual bypass to like just tidy it up and have it be done. Like have it be a real transformation, because when you do that, then you can really move into greater liberation for yourself as much more of a wise one. So that's the kind of simple view from a human design point of view. But let's take a look at what when we turn to astrology, what we can see. So this is the chart for the full moon. This is actually from England. So, don't pay attention to the houses. But what I wanted to point out here is that this full moon is actually going to be a Cardinal Grand Cross, which is one of the most powerful configurations in astrology. Now, I do not claim to be an astrologer, but because I am a human design expert, I do like to find out about astrology, and because they are definitely connected. But I encourage you to go and check out. The astrologers are talking about this stuff a lot. I love Pam Gregory. She's one of my favorites. I also like Alina Align. But, go find your favorites to find out more about this. I'll give you more in-depth analysis of it. But I wanted to just point this out to you in an astrological chart, but then I'm going to show it to you in the human design chart as well. So looking at the astrological chart, you can see here at the bottom of the chart, Chiron and the moon are both in Aries. So this is a full moon in Aries. I'll talk more about Aries in a minute. But then up on the top there, you can see the sun. So it's opposite the sun, which is always the case at a full moon, right? As we've got the moon and the sun are opposite each other. But then over on the left-hand side of the chart, you can see Pluto is over there in Capricorn. And on the right-hand side of the chart, you can see Mars is over there in Cancer. And so this is what creates a Cardinal Grand Cross. You can even see the square in there when you're looking at the chart. So this is really interesting. So go and check out what the astrologers are saying about this, because they will be much more articulate about what a Cardinal Grand Cross is. It can, especially since these are cardinal, they're fixed signs. And so it can feel a little bit like you're stuck in a structure during this time, but it's a very powerful configuration. But one of the things I can say from astrology is these are all squares. And when things are squared, right, they tend to be like this. And so what's important about this, we always have, like I said, this opposition between sun and moon during a full moon. That opposition, that's normal. We do it every month. It's not that big a deal for us. But to have Pluto and Mars opposite each other like this, right? This is a really powerful alignment where it could be volatile. It could be incendiary. We could be seeing things kind of blow up. And so it's a really supercharged time. Now, one of the things I want to talk about here with Mars is, so Mars, I'm an Aries sun, so an Aries full moon, I know this really well, this energy. I mean, Aries is, the beginning of the astrological wheel, right? The beginning of the year with the spring equinox, the beginning with Aries there. And Aries is a very fiery and a potent energy. I've spent most of my adult life learning how to work with my Aries energy, honestly. But there's a lot of confidence there. There's a lot of engagement. There's a lot of like, just go for it, right? It's that good, just go for it kind of energy. But Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. And so Mars, as the god of war, can give Aries this kind of real edge, right? It can feel a bit coercive to other people. It can definitely feel aggressive. And so Mars can be that god of war. And when we've got Mars is opposing Pluto, who's in Capricorn at that 29th degree, again, for these next, 4 weeks now, approximately, right till the 19th of November. We're looking at this leaving of the old order. I mean, Pluto's just, I've talked about this in a bunch of videos. So, and you can find it in any of the astrologers' videos also, because Pluto's just been getting in here and saying, okay, what of the old order do we want to let go of? What are we going to release? What do we need to process so that we can leave it behind? And of course, this moon is finishing things, right? Completing things. Like, what do we need to get rid of to complete things, right? So these things are layering on top of each other. But then we've got Mars over there, right? Who's the god of war, who's opposing Pluto. And so one of the things we can learn from human design to inform our understanding of astrology is that we have Mars as the spiritual warrior in his more awakened state. I don't hear the astrologers talk about that. They tend to be pretty negative about Mars. But I can say, like I said, Mars is my ruling planet in astrology, and it can be, we can learn to transmute that energy so that it is not so coercive. And it's not like that authoritarian dictatorship energy that I was just talking about Jupiter in the 45, right? That it's not that dictator energy. It's the benevolent energy, right? It's the benevolent sovereign. It's the one who is looking out for everyone. And Mars can play a role in that when he chooses to step into being the spiritual warrior as opposed to being the god of war. So along with your choice having to do with, am I going to, move into authoritarianism, or am I going to support authoritarianism or not? Am I going to support the people? And am I going to support a more egalitarian and a more equitable world, right? That's what Jupiter's kind of posing to us. With Mars, we can be doing that same thing and saying, hey, let's step into our ability to be the spiritual warriors, not the ones on the battlefield, or not the ones these days. It's all with freaking computers practically. Like not doing that, right? But choosing to, yes, have a warrior energy, but to be doing it from the heart, to be doing it for the highest good of all, not to be doing it for just your personal gain or just for your tribe, right? We're evolving out of that. So this is the invitation, and this is the choice that you have while we're looking at this Cardinal Grand Cross, which is happening here with this full moon. So in this image of the human design mandala, here's the Grand Cross. And on this one, it's a little bit different. You'll see on the upper right-hand side, that's where the sun is. Across from that, you can see the moon and Chiron and the earth are all opposite there in the gate 42, where the sun is in the 32. And then up at the top there's Pluto in the 60. And at the bottom, there's Mars in the 62. So this is what that Cardinal Grand Cross looks like in the human design mandala. And so just, know that this is something that is going to be not just influencing you, but influencing everyone. So this is an intense time, and you have tools that you can use to navigate this with some modicum of grace, provided that you remember that these energies are going to be stimulating you in certain ways and stimulating the people around you. So the more grounded you can be, the more calm you can be, the more you can regulate your nervous system, right? However you choose to do that. Breathing is good. Grounding is good. tapping is good. Dancing is good. Singing is good. Being with other people, high vibe people, that all of that is good, right? But also know that other people are going to be expressing some of these as well. And you get to see it happening both in your own life and in the larger world. And so you will get to notice if you get triggered by or stimulated by seeing other people acting out some of these energies. So, do yourself a favor and just try to be as neutral, move into like an observer state as much as possible. And my invitation to you would be to, really move more into that kind of egalitarian, equitable, compassionate, caring, benevolent, sovereign energy, because that can also just hold space for the transformation that's happening right now. And all of us are going to be in it, right? Because these heavenly bodies influence all of us. And then we've got all of this supercharged with this big full moon. Whew, we've got a lot going on these days, and so much that I want to offer you an opportunity to come and learn more about the human design transits. I have been doing the transit reports for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in January. And so I've done them for quite a while. I feel like this is something I've gotten really, in depth with. And many people ask me how to understand them better. And so I'm going to do a masterclass that you can join. You just need to register on Zoom for this. It's happening on Tuesday, October 22nd, and at 4 p.m. Pacific time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then that'll be in the morning for our friends in Australia. And so please do come if you want to learn more about how to understand the transits, how to apply them with your chart. I'll be walking you through some of those different pieces and doing some demonstrations so that you'll have an idea about how you can take this and then do more of this for yourself. So I just want to say, be in your heart, take good care, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other. It's really easy when the energies are strong like this. We've also had like major earth events, right? We've had hurricanes here in the United States. There's been flooding all over the world. There's a lot going on, right? There's these major solar flares and solar winds and storms that are coming in. Some people are very sensitive to that. So, just really take good care and take care of the people around you, and do what you can to, to either stay calm or to get back into calm. Meditation is really great. Use your tools. Most of us really have a lot of tools, but it doesn't mean we always use them. This is a really good time to be using your tools. All right. So I will, hopefully I'll see you on the 22nd. Much love for now.